Hello, friends, and welcome. I'm Fioraliz.
And this is Jo, and you are about to get into the goodness that is the Esoterics podcast.
How you doing today, Joe? What's new?
I am good today. I am better. I have been struggling with this full moon. How about you? Have you had any trouble with it?
Just had more dreams, but not problems with it. No. What are you struggling with?
Um, it's weird because it's like extra exhausting. Okay, so I'm a
Mm.
Capricorn, and so letting things slide is really harder in this energy, I've found. Like normally I can be like, yeah, I'm not going to give that situation any or person or whatever any power,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
right? But this Scorpio energy, okay, it has me plotting like savage clapback, over dumb stuff like the lady in the grocery store taking the exact bag of carrots that I wanted. Just stupid shit, and I'm like, prepare to die, lady. So
Now that you mention that, I think I struggle with some stuff too.
yes, I'm attributing it to Scorpio energy.
Mm.
But I mean, yeah, I am real. It's a huge internal struggle. So I'm struggling with it, and I'm trying to stay kind and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Yeah.
it's just exhausting. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much it, though. That's all I got right now.
Yeah, I know. I went a little keyboard warrior a few days ago, and
You
that
did-
yeah, I did.
on on the socials.
Yeah, I did. It's because there's this video of this woman that came out, and she's a teacher out here in Riverside, like nearby, and she's a math teacher, and then for some reason so she was recorded by a native student who was offended by like what she was doing. She put on a fake headdress and was like dancing like a fake, native dance around her room and really obnoxiously. And apparently she's been at this thing for years. Anyway, like it's very offensive, but I was so like just distraught by like when I saw the post on Facebook and all the people that were defending her and then all the people that were just laughing about it. And I'm just like and so I'm in there, like I'm in the comments and I'm like, and then at some point I had to like step away and I'm like, are you actually going to change anybody's mind? Like, is it anything going to change? Like, are you just wasting your energy? And I really had to step myself back, like, ugh,
But
just let it go.
sometimes in the moment, it feels so good to be like, say something or point something out. It's
Yeah.
like you're getting it off your chest. But you're right. You're never ever. The internet is it's a cesspool. It,
Mm-hmm.
it really is. And honestly, after the retreat, I am gonna take a social media break. I've decided I'm gonna,
Yeah.
ask Kathy to step up and moderate the group. Like I legitimately need to take a break from social media. Just completely
Yeah.
calcify my freaking face.
I'm with you. I deleted the Facebook app from my phone for a solid year. And
Did you really?
even now, yeah, and even now that I have it back on my phone, I have the notifications are all turned off. So I
Yeah.
I notice I don't go on there hardly at all. I maybe look at it once a day. Sometimes I forget about it for days at a time. So
Yeah.
it's better when you take a break, your relationship to it totally changes.
It really does. And I have all those pages that I have to admin,
Mhm.
what Instagram, and then the podcast, and then the group, and then my business page. So I have to get on there, but I also need to learn how to get on there, do what I need to do, and then get off and don't engage
Mhm.
anything actually social. So there was a and I don't remember who, I don't remember the circumstances, but there was I guess a business coach who gave a class on how to turn social media into like your an altar,
Oh,
to bring in the good and to interact with that. And it was a class that took place in the past, or else I would have
that's
like signed up
interesting.
and been like, what is that, right?
Yeah.
So but that sort of started me on this path of how do I change my mindset so when I go on that social media sort of, I don't know what you
The
would call it, a
intention.
blackout.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do some research and
Hmm.
figure out how to change it,
Okay.
to have a different relationship with it, because yeah, it's tough. So
Yeah, it is. All right. You have announcements?
I do. I just have one. Akashic Tarot readings. I am now booking those, and they're a really great price. They're $75. That's my lowest price offering and service. And you guys, they're so much fun. I love how your guides come through. They're so excited to share information with you to move you forward. So it's a really high vibe, fun reading. These are so fun to do. I think I'm going to keep them on the services
Oh.
menu. Yeah, for the rest of the year, or just permanently.
Mhm.
Um, and that tarot reading is a great way to get clear on the path that you're being guided to go down based on what you learned in 2021. And so you get a lot of perspective on what all the retrogrades taught you and what challenges you were meant to master. And then after your guides, put that all into perspective, then they tell you how to best use that knowledge and growth to move forward in 2022.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what makes it so fun. And then here is something fun. I've added a bonus that if you book an Akashic Tarot reading before December 23rd, I will put your name in a drawing to win a free 90-minute Akashic Soul Blueprint reading. That's my biggest reading, and that covers everything. We talk about karmic debt. You get a numerology core report. We talk about karma carried over from past lives, karmic lessons, past lives. We get into, I'll give you a forecast that gives you a little bit insight into what energy you're going to most strongly experience in each calendar year for the next 5 years. And then, just to make it even more fun, I'm in the middle of writing a new workbook of guided journal prompts that I'm going to launch sometime within the next couple of months. It's in PDF format, so I'll include a copy of that along with a crystal recommendation that best works with your personal energy. So, just putting all that fun together is going to be a fun giveaway.
Wow.
Yeah, and then if anybody's already had an Akashic Soul Blueprint reading, that's okay. We can do a spirit guide reading. So
Awesome.
yeah, so sign up for that to book one, and just get entered into the drawing. Just visit my website, thewokakashic.com.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. It'll be fun. What are we going to talk about today?
All right. Today we're going to learn about Samhain and the evolution of modern day Halloween.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, school us on Samhain.
Okay. All right. So Samhain is a pagan religious festival that originates from an ancient Celtic spiritual tradition. So the festival has for centuries marked a liminal time of the year when the afterlife and the daily life on Earth overlap. During this transitional period, it's believed that spirits and the living can intermingle. And the name of this Celtic holiday originates from the Old Irish words Samhain, which means summer's end. And I probably said that super wrong. I'm sorry, don't have any Irish
It's
ancestry. I'm
it's a hard
sorry.
word, you guys.
But it's pronounced sound. But anyway, so it originates from that meaning summer's end. So it actually refers to the month that we now call November. All right. So the people who celebrated this believed that the barrier between the physical world and the spirit world would break down during Samhain, and this would allow for more interaction between humans and inhabitants of the other worlds. So you're already seeing the parallels versus what we talked about last week with Day of the Dead. Like
Mm-hmm,
it's basically
mm-hmm,
the same beliefs.
mm-hmm.
And so, if you were a Celt in the Middle Ages, you would have likely been required to participate in the holiday festivities. If you didn't show yourself to the local king or chieftain during the 3-day festivities, the gods might punish you with illness or death.
Uh-oh.
So, it's like
Let's
you got
talk
to
about a
show up.
requirement. Mm-hmm. Show up or show out.
The ancient Celts all thought of the year as two halves, light and dark. As the dark half of the year began in November, they believed that the world of gods and spirits became visible to mankind. But this could also lead to trouble for the living. So,
Yeah.
this is where the other traditions come in. So, with those lines blurred between the living and those who'd passed, people believed that they needed to take special protective measures to avoid harm. So, first, they prepared offerings, and those were left outside of their villages in the fields, and those were for fairies or for Eshis.
She's
Yeah, Eshis. I think.
okay.
Honestly, these words are like, they're not my school learning of sounded out does not function for any of this.
Your book learning has failed you. These are hard words, though. Can I just say too that I love the act of leaving stuff for the
Yeah,
fairies.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah. I have a friend, my friend Grace, and she does this, and she was telling me about that they love milk and like all the little special things she does for them. It's really sweet.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, so it was expected that ancestors might cross over during this time as well, and the Celts would dress as animals and monsters so that fairies were not tempted to kidnap them.
they want none of it.
Yeah. So some specific monsters that were associated with the mythology surrounding Samhain included a shape-shifting creature called a puka that receives harvest offerings from the field. And then there's the Lady Gwyn, who is a headless woman dressed in white who chases night wanderers and was accompanied by a black pig.
That's random. Why didn't she have a head?
I don't know. It's
We don't
weird.
know. And the bigger question, why a black pig?
This is I don't know. Is it like yin
Lore.
and yang, like the light and the dark? I
Lore.
don't know. The Dulahan, I'm probably not saying that right, sometimes appeared as impish creatures, sometimes headless men on horses who carried their heads, riding flame eyed horses. Their appearance was a death omen to anyone who encountered them.
Uh-oh.
That's don't want to see that.
No, it's scary.
No. A group of hunters known as the fairy host might also haunt Samhain and kidnap people, similar to the Slaw, who would come from the west to enter houses and steal souls. They're
Hmm.
just full of scary things.
It
Jesus.
really is. So all of these things are things that could potentially happen when the dark half of the world is upon us.
These
And
were all the
okay.
monsters that they believe would come
Oh
out
yeah.
during Samhain.
These were terrible monsters.
They didn't fuck around.
I know.
All right. Okay, so the other traditions that were involved with this were so primarily were bonfires. So the bonfires were the central ritual of Samhain. In ancient times, Samhain celebrants and Druid priests lit large bonfires on the hilltops. Because the fire imitates the powers of the sun, the
Mhm.
Celts believed it would help hold back the darkness and decay of winter.
Hmm.
In turn, their crops would thrive and return after the cold winter months stronger than ever. Participants often took a flame from the bonfire back to their own homes to light their hearts. And other rituals and traditions of Samhain would usually take place around the ceremonial bonfire.
Yeah, I read something about any flame that they took from that fire. Actually, they wanted to protect it so that it didn't go out for the entire season,
Mm.
because it that was how it protected them and kept them warm and fed and all those things.
And don't we still do that with like the Olympic torch?
I think
Is that
so.
how that
I
works?
really don't know, but I'm gonna sound like I do. Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure. I have no fucking clue. I'm terrible American.
All right. So, one of the other things that happened during Samhain was sacrifice. One of the traditions that took place by the light of the bonfire was ritual sacrifice. Communities often sacrificed cattle or crops to show their dedication to the gods and to broker protection from evil spirits. Burning the crops and cattle in the bonfire was a way to protect the community. And that was important because otherworldly beings with ill intentions could easily cross over into the world of the living during this time.
You ever wonder if during times of famine they were like, "Damn, if only we hadn't burned that crop
Right,
Eh,
yeah, or maybe you
or the
should have
cow."
saved that cow. Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
get it.
I know we touched on this last week when we were talking about the Aztecs and their blood sacrifice rituals too, right?
Yeah.
I noticed with these articles, they don't call it blood sacrifice,
No,
but that is a blood sacrifice when you're
that is a
killing a
blood
cow.
sacrifice.
Yeah. I just
Hmm.
thought it was
Yeah.
interesting that, like,
Hmm.
why is it automatically called a blood sacrifice when you're talking about the
Yeah.
Aztecs, but over here? And also, just putting it out there, the fact that we technically are like still do this, like think of 4th of July. What do you do on your 4th of July? You barbecue stuff. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. I
just
never
because you
thought of
didn't
it that
actually
way.
kill the cow, I mean, you're still eating the cow, like, yeah.
Ooh, my legs are tingling with that. Like seriously, like some big insight.
Yeah,
Now
well,
listen, barbecue is delicious.
yeah, but we do this in so many different ways. I mean,
Yep.
Thanksgiving, there's a turkey, like,
Mm-hmm.
there's different times of the year, and
Christmas, there's a ham.
yeah,
Easter, there's a ham.
there's a ham, there's your sacrifice. Just
Pork
saying.
pigs. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
then tricks. So, a Samhain tradition that crossed over to the modern era is the lighthearted practice of playing tricks on one another. Spirits were thought to cross over from the other world to the world of the living, so they were expected to play tricks. So,
Mm-hmm.
as a result, many community members, often children and young adults, took the opportunity to prank their neighbors and then just blame the events on the other worldly beings.
I didn't do it.
It's a good time to fuck with your neighbor. It was probably your
Right.
grandma.
Right.
Probably your
Or,
dead
or it
grandma.
was or it was the other neighbor. Create conflict.
So another thing that they did was called mummying. In addition to dressing up, known as guising back then, people often went from house to house requesting donations of food in exchange for songs or the recitation of verses. We can recognize this practice, mummying, as similar to the Halloween tradition of trick or treating, as well as the Christians' ritual of caroling.
Oh, mumming,
Mumming.
mumming,
Mumming.
mumming, which has nothing to do with a mummy. Which when I first saw that, I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, yeah,
But nope.
mumming. So
Hmm.
usually the costume parties would comprise usually of young people, and they would go farm to farm. The householders who donated the food could expect good luck and fortune throughout the winter, while those who refused could expect bad things to come.
Treat tricks.
Don't turn them away.
Mm-mm.
And then there were games. Samhain celebrations weren't all about death and appeasing the spirits. Some activities were just for fun and to show thanks for a plentiful harvest. So one of these games may be familiar with for you if you've ever been to a Halloween party. This is apple bobbing. For the game of apple bobbing, participants would duck their heads underwater and attempt to retrieve as many apples with their teeth as they could. Other games involve hiding items in food and offering food to animals. The results, which item you found in your cake or how many animals ate your offering, could offer facts about your future.
Oh, see, and later on, I'll talk about apple bobbing and
Ah,
how all of that sort of has turned into how it turned into a, I don't know, we'll call it an Americanized version of
uh-huh.
what it is.
So this leads us into the another tradition, which was fortune telling. So some druids believed that the liminal quality of Samhain lent itself to telling the future. So with so many spirits around, they could more easily make predictions about what was to come. So around the Samhain bonfire, Celtic priests often offered fortune telling sessions to interested attendees and to the community as a whole.
Cool.
That's interesting that a priest would do
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you'd be told by a priest today that that's some sort of devil's
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, we will find out when it turned into devil's
work.
work.
All right. So there's also this ritual known as dumb supper.
Well,
Yeah.
let's get into that.
Which I'm like, is this just when you have dinner with your crazy uncle?
I know, really.
Talks
Dumb
about
supper.
conspiracy theories the whole time.
I love that one.
So this would mean when families would open their windows and doors and to allow ancestral spirits to enter the home. The family would prepare a meal and they would wait until they'd invited their deceased relatives to enjoy the dinner first. Over dinner, the family would converse with the spirits, telling them about everything that had happened over the previous year. Children would entertain the dead with games and songs until the spirits finally left after dinner. I want to know how you know that they're gone. They just leave after
Mm-hmm.
dinner's over?
Mm-hmm. You can't trust a spirit. No, mm-mm.
You'd be like, all right,
Not a
Uncle.
harvest spirit.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
dead Uncle Joe, you got to go now.
Mm-hmm. And then he's not.
Yeah, and then lastly, there were costumes. So again, this is a tradition that has been moved into what we have in modern day of Halloween. So this is the practice of dressing up and donning costumes and masks. So most people during Samhain would dress up as animals, monsters, and beasts in an attempt to fool the otherworldly spirits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So then I'm just going to transition into what eventually would become Christian Samhain.
Mm.
So, as Christianity tried to gain a foothold in pagan communities, church leaders attempted to reframe Samhain as a Christian celebration. The first attempt was by Pope Boniface in the 5th century. He moved the celebration to May 13th and specified it as a date celebrating spirits or celebrating saints and martyrs. The fire festivals of October and November, however, did not end with his decree. In the 19th century, Pope Gregory moved the celebration back to the time of fire festivals, but declared it All Saints' Day on November 1st and All Souls' Day on November 2nd.
Hmm.
So that's how that
Very
happened.
cool.
That's the guy
All
you
right.
can thank for All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then eventually, Samhain would merge with Halloween. So neither the new holiday did away with the pagan aspects of the celebration. October 31st became known as All Hallows Eve or Halloween and contained much of the traditional pagan practices before being adopted in 19th century America through Irish immigrants bringing their traditions across the ocean. Trick or treating is said to have been derived from ancient Irish and Scottish practices in the nights leading up to Samhain. In Ireland, mumming was the practice of putting on costumes, going to door, and singing songs to the dead. Cakes were given as payment. That's fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
Cakes. I want more, but we'll yeah.
Cupcakes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do.
Cupcakes. I
I'll,
can do cupcakes.
yeah, cupcakes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um, yeah, and Halloween pranks also have a tradition in Samhain, though in ancient celebration, tricks were typically blamed on fairies.
Right. I
Modern,
don't care for that.
no, don't do that.
No, I mean the fairies are tricksters,
Hmm.
so we'll right, but everybody always wants to blame the fairies.
Yeah.
First they honor them, then they blame them. What is it? Fairies, what is it?
No wonder
Ancient peoples.
fairies get mad.
No wonder they got a problem with you if you
Yeah.
screw with them.
So modern day Samhain celebrations are, of course, quite different from those of the past. So, but if
Mm-hmm.
you want to pay homage to the ancient Celtic people or honor pagan practices, here are a few ways to celebrate Samhain today.
Okay.
Okay. So first, just you can just participate in Halloween, or whatever
Right.
that means for you. Handing out
Right.
candy, getting dressed up, going
Mm-hmm.
out, trick or treating, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
participating in Halloween is a best the one of the easiest ways I would say to celebrate that one. Which is why I feel like a lot of people who are like I don't know, conservative Christian or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or like hardcore Christian are like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we're not doing Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And then also two Jehovah's Witnesses who are like, no, because
Yeah.
it's pagan. It's I mean clearly has its pagan origins, so they
Sure.
don't participate in anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you see the meme that you saw the meme that I posted on my personal timeline about this Satan's Day? How that guy was like, you need we don't participate in Satan's Day,
oh
you need to
my
find
god,
Jesus.
oh my gosh,
He
oh
called
my
trick or treaters, this is my favorite part. He called trick or treaters freeloaders. It's like it's a 5-year-old trick or treating. How are
Jesus,
they freeloaders?
quit
That was my favorite meme
quit
ever.
shitting on children's joy, okay?
It was so ridiculous.
Rude. Is another way to celebrate Samhain is to get into nature
I
because a
love
major
that one.
part of Samhain is getting in tune with nature and how the natural world affects your life. For the ancient Celts, it was a time to prepare for the cold winter months and bring an end to harvest season. For modern celebrants who buy produce at the grocery store rather than growing it for themselves, it may be more difficult to connect with the transition of lightness of summer to darkness of winter.
Right.
So, you can get more attuned with nature by going for a hike or bringing the natural world into your home. Decorate with autumn foliage and produce like squash, pumpkins, and colorful fall wreaths. Also, I know a
Do
lot of
you
people go apple picking too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, or to apple orchards
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
cider mills and stuff.
Yep.
Do you, carve pumpkins?
I do. But I have
Yes.
a problem right now because I bought these two very large pumpkins for like $8 at Costco. I never
Mhm,
have a problem with buying stuff at Costco. And I was like,
mm-mm.
we're going to save so much money because now we don't have to go to the pumpkin patch because that's so expensive. Because now, it's like this whole thing now. It's like it's like a carnival to go to the
It
pumpkin patch.
is.
Yeah.
It is,
And
right?
it's
And
expensive. Like, I just want a
yep.
pumpkin, but no, now my kid wants to go and, do games and rides and shit. And like, $100 later.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm over here like, I'm gonna save money and I'm gonna buy these pumpkins. They rotted in like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks max.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Squash is not supposed to go bad that quickly. They
No,
were
I've never
selling
had a
us,
pumpkin go
they
bad.
sold us
Old
shit from
pumpkins.
last year. Yeah. Yeah.
Old pumpkins. So I was gonna get one a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, nah, it's too soon because when you carve them, then their little mouths start to
Oh,
cave in, like they
yes.
have no teeth,
Mhm.
like old people with no dentures. And I thought, no, so I'm gonna wait. Well, typically then, like I decide to get one like the day before, then it
And then it's slim
sticks.
pickings.
It's like right. So I don't know. I like it for the pumpkin seeds. That's really why I like the pumpkins.
What I want to do with my kids this year is maybe do build a little haunted house, like a gingerbread house, but like a haunted
Oh,
house.
cute.
I think
Yes.
I want to do that. So
Yeah.
that's probably
All
what we'll
right.
do. All right, another way to participate in Samhain is to attend a fire ceremony. This is actually what we did in last year in 2020 because we didn't go trick or treating, we didn't go out, we just did a bonfire in the backyard. So
Oh,
the
nice.
holiday of Samhain has seen a large revival since the 1980s with the growing popularity of Wicca. And if you
Yeah.
join others who appreciate the rituals and traditions of Samhain, you might be able to find a pagan fire festival in your area.
Yeah.
A modern fire festival usually features a bonfire as well as a communion with the dead, and they might also involve a dancer or a witch's ball. That's pretty
That would
cool.
actually really be really cool. The only one I heard of is a bunch of women that are in the woods naked, and I'm just not down for that. I mean,
Yeah.
great.
I
That's
mean, it's
great for
good
them, but
good for you, but I don't
yeah,
like to be.
no, I need my clothes on to celebrate
Yes. You can
around a
also
fire. Definitely.
like I said, you can have your own bonfire at home. Nothing
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
As long as check with your local local fire restrictions.
Mhm.
Don't burn your house down. All right. Another thing you can do is you can make an offering, since animal sacrifice is frowned upon in modern cultures. Although, is it
It's
though?
frowned upon.
Because there's still slaughterhouses.
Barbecue.
Just, yeah. You can still give an offering to the spirits and fairies from the other world to honor the rituals of Samhain. You can leave a simple offering of food and drink outside your door for the nature spirits to enjoy in the night of Samhain.
I love that.
An apple might make a good choice for your offering, since apples have a strong association with the other world and Celtic tradition.
They do, and we'll talk about that.
Oh, cool.
Hmm.
And the last thing you can do is, I would say last but definitely not least,
No.
Samhain also has close ties to death. So it falls at the end of the harvest season when the fields begin to freeze. For the ancient people who celebrated Samhain, the holiday was a time when their deceased ancestor could literally walk amongst the living, or
Yeah.
obviously that's what they believed. So
Yeah.
even if you don't like that to be true, Samhain is a good opportunity to gather photographs or other memories of your loved ones. You can honor them by lighting candles and saying a few words of thanks or taking a moment of silence.
Ah, you can do a little altar work there,
Hmm.
altar ancestral veneration.
Yes, you can.
Very cool. Very cool. I love learning about Samhain.
Yeah, it's interesting how there's so
Hmm.
many pieces of this that we already do. And
Right. We already do them. So, all right. Well, let's talk about the history of Halloween traditions and how they've sort of evolved into modern day.
okay.
All right. So we just learned um, that All Hallows Eve or Halloween is, as it's known now, is it originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. But how did this sort of age-old saint honoring time of year evolve, or as some might believe, devolve,
Hmm.
into a day of collecting candy and carving pumpkins?
Hmm.
So. Early American celebrations of Halloween were limited due to religious belief systems that
Mm,
were, to say the least, rigid,
sure.
right? The
Sure.
Puritans and all of that.
Hmm.
But as the customs of more and more arriving immigrants became sort of enmeshed, a new version of Halloween began to emerge. So the first celebrations were very public events. They were held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead or their ancestors. They would tell each other's fortunes. They would dance and sing and make merry. But by the mid 1800s, Americans were holding annual autumn festivals that or festivities that celebrated Halloween as a holiday that was focused on get-togethers. Okay, so religion, it still had its sort of European roots,
Mhm.
but it had morphed into a celebration, a
Okay.
get together, all of that. Um, that would people would throw parties, they would offer games and seasonal foods, and they would dress up in those festive costumes. Parents were encouraged by church leaders to take anything frightening out of Halloween celebrations, right? So that's
Okay.
when Christianity in America sort of started to push and influence and,
Uh-huh.
all of that.
Yeah.
All right. So by the 1930s, Halloween had morphed into a really community centered holiday with parades and citywide Halloween parties.
Oh,
All
cool.
right. So it's not necessarily a bad thing because Halloween is fun. And, like even the movie Hocus Pocus sort of um, it centers around, this big citywide Halloween
Yeah.
party where all the adults are there.
Yeah.
Um, so now the practice of trick or treating that, as Fiora talked about, originated with the Celtic custom of giving bits of the harvest to spirits that were wandering around on the evening of Samhain. And these offerings were to placate and prevent them from doing destructive things to the harvest or the home. Like these spirits, I don't know why they would want to destroy things on their one night of freedom, but um, that's what the history and the lore says. So when the modern custom of trick or treating started in America, it was about the 30s.
Okay.
Children were given everything from homemade cookies and pieces of cake, like we talked about earlier.
Uh-huh.
They were given nuts and coins and toys,
Okay.
just pretty much everything. All right, but in the 50s, that's when the candy manufacturers were like, all right, we're missing out.
Yeah.
Um, yep. And so they decided, I'm going to get in on the act. And they began promoting their products for Halloween specifically.
Okay.
So that's really when trick or treating became more popular because candy was an affordable, convenient offering. And by then, Halloween had become a holiday that was more directly, it was directed mainly at the young, right? Trick or treating was an easy way for a community to join in a holiday celebration.
Mhm.
Even me, it's like, I'll decorate some years. This year, I'm not decorating. I love to decorate for Christmas and Halloween and all the other holidays, but
Mhm.
I don't like to take stuff down.
Right.
So I don't, right?
Yes.
But even me, I'm like, all right, well, I'll have a bowl of candy by the door,
Yeah.
and if I don't get any trick or treaters, win-win
It's
because
my
then I
bowl
get
of
the
candy.
candy. I get to keep the candy.
Yep.
All right. So in the 70s, wrapped factory made candy was viewed as really the only acceptable thing to hand out, right? There were no more nuts and coins and cakes and toys,
Okay.
which, that's a good
That's
thing.
probably pretty messy.
Well, yeah, and a key reason was because of safety. Parents became really fearful that candy that wasn't store bought and sealed could have easily been tampered with.
Mhm.
All right, now there's a reason for that. So let's talk about some of that bad candy situation.
Okay.
When researchers conducted a study on crimes that were specifically committed using tampered with Halloween treats, they concluded that that threat is greatly overstated.
Mhm.
Okay, which is good. That's good to know. Most of the cases that were analyzed were either exaggerated or could not be directly linked to the holiday of Halloween. Researchers also suggested that fears rise during fearful times, like now.
Right.
And for example, paranoia about tainted candy sort of spiked in the early 80s after a rash of Tylenol poisonings in which cyanide laced acetaminophen was placed on the store shelves and sold.
Yes, I remember that.
Yep.
I remember this
I do
story.
too. I was in like middle school, I think middle school, high school, maybe. I think it was middle school.
Mhm.
No, maybe high school. But anyway, I remember just it being like my parents were like, no Tylenol.
Mhm.
So, rumors of randomly distributed poison candy or threats like apples that contained razor blades, um, researchers say are really nothing more than urban legend.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, all right. So, for example, a 7-year-old California girl collapsed while trick or treating in 1990. Santa Monica police, they confiscated all of the kids' candy.
Mhm.
However, her illness was later discovered to be caused by a heart murmur. Oh, poor little girl.
Oh.
And when examined, she showed no sign of poisoning.
Okay. Okay.
So, my question is were the kids like, give back my candy? Fuckers. Because they took all the kids' candy.
That's fucked up.
I know, right?
I mean, but you got to be cautious, I
Yeah, you got
guess.
to be safe.
Yeah.
In Detroit, a 5-year-old little boy died on Halloween after consuming heroin. Okay, and you're like, wait a minute, how does this tie in?
Mhm.
So, early media reports of his death cited his uncle's claim that he had been exposed to the drug in tainted holiday treats.
Bullshit.
Right? All bullshit. But further reporting showed that the child had, in fact, found the heroin at his uncle's house,
Of
not
course.
in his bag of Halloween candy, as investigators had first been told. A
Mm.
5-year-old little boy. Poor little
Oh.
buddy. So um there are some instances where, they said, "Oh, it's Halloween poisoning," but it really turned out to be not.
Right. Mhm.
All right, now, however, as most urban legends are based in a nugget of truth,
Mhm.
while some fears may be inflated, their Halloween crimes involving poison actually have occurred.
Okay.
All right, so in 1964, a New York woman named Helen Feel. She was arrested for handing out things like ant poison and dog biscuits to
What the
kids.
fuck is wrong with you?
I this is what's wrong with her. When questioned, she said she was just joking.
Bitch.
She gave the items to the kids that she felt were too old to be trick or treating. Judgy bitch, judgy bitch.
Oh my god.
And though no children were poisoned during the incident, law enforcement didn't find her actions funny.
Oh no shit.
I have never, ever, ever cared about the age of the trick or treater. Number one, if it's older kids, they're not out causing trouble.
Exactly.
They're just having fun. Who cares?
Yeah.
Even now, I'll go trick or treating. Hell yes, and get a big old thing of candy.
Yeah.
So I just don't see why it matters. But we'll talk about more about that because it's.
I see people trick or treating with their dogs. Like they don't
I
have
know.
kids and they just take their dog and
Yes, and
and
then
you
I
know
would
what?
appreciate Helen's dog biscuits because Alice would be like, "Thank you."
Thank you.
My baby would love it. But the most infamous Halloween poisoning took place in 1974 when a Texas man named Ronald O'Brien, he gave cyanide-laced pixie sticks to 5 children, including his son.
Ugh, I remember this story.
The other children never ate the candy, but his 8-year-old son Timothy did, and Timothy died.
What a piece of shit.
I mean, piece of shit. And so, though nobody saw O'Brien put the cyanide in the candy, investigators learned that he had recently taken life insurance policies out
Yeah.
on his children.
Yeah.
Uh, it- all right. This was sort of labeled the Candyman murder,
Mm-hmm.
and he was convicted and executed. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, Texas. Right, the one good thing Texas did, via lethal injection in '84. So it took like 10 years. He was on death row.
Yeah.
I think he deserved it.
Yeah.
All right, now here's what his douchebag attorney said. My client was convicted, but regardless of how horrific the crime, it was no random act of Halloween havoc, since it was aimed directly at his children and their friends, not at trick or treaters.
Mm.
That none of that it helps
Yeah, it
in
doesn't.
any way. It doesn't explain anything or justify anything.
It just makes it. I mean, it just. I don't know. That's
Right? I mean, he intentionally poisoned his children.
yeah.
That's a crazy man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is uplifting as that is. So bad candy, right? I mean, your kid gets home. It's just common sense to put all of the candy out on the table,
Yeah.
just give it a visual
Yeah.
inspection, snag the pieces that you want when the kid's not looking.
Right.
You got to get those
This
Snickers out
one's
of
poisoned,
there.
so I'm gonna
This,
take it in my
yep.
room.
Ooh, there's some razor blade. No, don't tell your kid that. But like, ooh, this
No,
one's opened. Sorry.
this one's not good.
Mm-hmm. Right,
This
and
one's
then go
expired.
smoke a bowl and freaking throw down on candy.
I used to love um the what's his name's pranks.
Johnny Knoxville.
Not Jimmy Fallon. What's his name? The other late night guy now.
Oh, Conan,
No, not Conan.
Jay Leno, Arsenio Hall,
Oh,
Johnny Carson. I'm gonna
no.
go through all of them. Who am I missing? Not Jimmy Fallon. Who is he? The Saturday Night Live guy.
Jimmy Kimmel. Okay.
Jimmy Kimmel. Okay,
Jesus
he's a good one.
Christ. Yes. Jimmy Kimmel's I told my kids I ate all their Halloween candy videos.
It-
Have you seen those?
Oh yes, and the
The
kids
pranks?
cry.
Yes. The kids.
Oh my god.
It's an emotional roller coaster to watch those things. Like some kids get
Yes.
so pissed and they're like, I hate you. And other ones are like, it's okay. And I'm just like,
Aw.
oh.
Right. I don't have kids, so for me, it's all amusing. All right, so let's talk about some origins of Halloween. The Romans celebrated two festivals around the same time: Feralia, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Pomona.
Oh,
Feralia was dedicated to dead ancestors, and it's all tying together with Samhain and Day of the Dead and all that stuff. While Pomona, the Latin word for orchard fruit, was more like a harvest festival. It is believed that Pomona gave us the tradition of bobbing for apples, and whoever successfully bit an apple out would supposedly be the next to marry.
oh, that's so interesting. We have a city named Pomona over here.
Yes,
Yeah, it's the
yes.
last city in LA County. Like
Very
when you get
cool.
head out east, it used to be orchards, I'm sure. Like it was all farming areas
Oh,
before.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep. A lot of things we're about to talk about have to do with helping women figure out who they were going to marry.
Oh.
We'll get into that. The feminist in me is like, all right. The next fun origin is the jack-o'-lantern, and that originates from the act of placing a candle inside a hollowed out vegetable. So it didn't necessarily need to be a pumpkin. It could have been a squash or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The candle represented the good magic of the sun, and the vegetable represented the harvest.
Okay.
And so this was done in the hopes that good magic will help preserve the harvested food through the dark half of the year that you referenced earlier,
Yes.
until the next growing season could replenish their food stores, because they would, have these underground cellars where they would put their food in the hopes that it didn't rot.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so the jack-o'-lantern. Superstition causes us to avoid crossing paths with black cats, afraid that they might bring us bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
I love black kitties. Black cats and dogs are the least adopted in, I guess we'll just say, yeah, and so they really need to be given special. My next dog is a black one. This idea had its roots in the Middle Ages, when many people believed that witches avoided detection by shape-shifting into black cats.
Which maybe they weren't wrong.
But I mean, right. And also I'm going to say that's badass.
Yeah,
so,
actually. Yes.
I'm down for that one. And then we talked earlier about the origin of trick-or-treating. Both, I talked about it a little bit earlier, and then so did Fiora. So, all right. Now, there are also some obsolete Halloween traditions that have been forgotten with good reason. And honestly, I'm glad, because they all focus on advising a woman how to identify her future husband, which is bullshit on all counts, but don't let me digress. Because honestly, I cannot roll my fucking eyes hard at them. So. But they are amusing, and some of them are kind of cute. So we're going to get into them. So in 18th century Ireland, a matchmaking cook might bury a ring in her mashed potatoes on Halloween night, hoping to bring true love to the diner who found it.
Oh.
Gross. Okay, but kind of cute, but also gross. Like, I'd totally be all like Karen-y. Like, I want to see the manager. This ringing my mashed potatoes. What the fuck?
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, it's gross. In Scotland, those fortune tellers are back.
Uh-huh.
They recommended that an eligible young woman name a hazelnut for each of her suitors and then toss the nuts into the fireplace. The nut that burned to ashes rather than popping or exploding represented the girl's future husband.
Oh.
And then in other versions, the opposite was true, that the nut that burned away symbolized a love that wouldn't last. So, you
Oh.
know, kind of
Interesting.
cute. If you ask me, it's a waste of nuts. I'm just saying. Those nuts might be delicious. Um, all right. Another custom recommended that a young woman eat a sugary concoction of walnuts, hazelnuts again. I don't know what the deal is with hazelnuts, and nutmeg,
I mean, they're
walnuts,
delicious.
hazelnuts, and nutmeg
Hmm.
before bed on Halloween night in order to dream about her future husband.
Oh.
Again, sus, this sus, indigestion. I don't, no. So,
It's a little
like I
spicy.
said, they're cute, but this is all telling a woman that she needs to have a husband in order to be valued. All right. Yet another tradition found women tossing apple peels over their shoulders, hoping that the peels would fall on the floor in the shape of their future husband's initials.
Oh, okay. I want to know how
I
often
mean,
that worked.
I know, right? I mean, that's something that you can actually try now. Toss it over your shoulder and see if it falls in the shapes of your current husband's initials, too.
Hmm. Interesting.
And then lastly, others tried to learn about their future, or women or people tried to learn about their future by standing in front of mirrors in darkened rooms, holding candles, and looking over their shoulders for their husbands' faces.
Okay.
Yeah. And that actually still has some um there is a like a spiritual practice. I believe it's called mirroring, where you, I don't think that's what
Mirror
it's
work?
called, but
I know I've
mirror
heard of
work.
mirror work. Uh-huh.
Yes, where you can actually see. But this is about seeing past lives, seeing who you were in the past,
Yes.
and I tried it one time, and it got really weird, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But it's a cool
Hmm.
modality, or whatever. All right, so those are some of the origins, the current practices. Some that have died out, and some are that's still going, from ancient sort of um, origins.
Yeah.
All right, so Halloween fun facts. Let's talk about Halloween, because there are some things that I was like, "What? This is insane." All right, so today Americans spend an estimated $6 billion a year on Halloween.
Oh shit.
It is the country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas.
Okay.
6 billion. Would you ever guess that?
No, never.
No,
Mm-mm, there's no way.
never. According to the National Retail Federation's 2019 report, Halloween partygoers spend an average of about 86 bucks. That makes the total estimate about 8.8 billion for the holiday overall. So those two facts sort of dispute each other. Is it 6 billion or is it 8.8 billion? The point is it's in the billions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I recently learned about the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire.
Oh my God. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. A
Yep.
thousand millions.
1,000 millions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It like it's that it's
Mhm.
crazy that if you're a millionaire, you're much
Mhm.
closer to being in poverty than you are to being a billionaire.
Yep. And so I recently read something that if Bezos buys a house worth 1.68 million, it is like a drop in the it doesn't even
Oh,
register. It's nothing to
yeah.
him.
Yeah, it's
You
nothing.
just don't even get me
Don't let's
started
not
on
get
him.
started on that.
Ooh, but I do love me some Amazon. Oh my God, I love Amazon. All right. Okay, here's something fun. More people are buying costumes for their pets. Americans spent 490 million on
Oh,
costumes for their
Jesus.
pets in 2019, more than double what they spent and 9 years earlier in 2010.
Mm.
And some of the most popular pet costumes are pumpkins, hot dogs, which I think is so cute, superheroes, being they have the capes,
Oh,
which I love, and bumblebees. That's my favorite one, the bumblebee. I want to see Hollis
yes.
as a fat bumblebee. Oh, he'd be so mad. He'd be like, get this chump change off me. Do you dress your dogs up for
I'm
Halloween?
super guilty.
Oh my God,
Yes.
what do you dress them up
Yes.
as?
Well, because Honey lets me like dress her. She lets me like right now she's wearing a sweater. She's not in here right now, but she's wearing a sweater right now. She doesn't care. She wears clothes. She wears dresses. Like she knows she looks
She's
cute and she's like all
right.
happy about it.
She's
And
like, I am fabulous.
yeah, and then Ruby, you put clothes on her, and you might as well have just whipped her because she's just like looking
Oh,
at you with the saddest face, like, "Why are you punishing me?" So, yeah, I've I don't think I've ever actually dressed up these dogs. I usually just put like pajamas on them and make them look stupid. But
right.
my
Which is your right
I
as
had
their mom.
yeah my Pomeranian. I used to dress him up as a vampire.
Oh my God, I love that. That would be funny. Did he have a little cape?
Yeah, it was a cute
Eh,
little it was like a little thing that went around his shoulders, and then it was like a headband thing, if I remember correctly, and it gave him
mhm.
eyeballs. It was funny. It was yeah, but it was a vampire costume.
I don't dress Hollis up just because he's big,
Uh-huh.
and those costumes are typically about $50, and I'm like,
Oh,
that's
yes. Yeah,
you
they
know
are. They're big. Yeah, they're expensive when they're but what you have to do, and this is what I do, is after Halloween is over, go to PetSmart and get them
yes.
on sale for the next year.
I am the worst about post holiday sales. Like
Oh, really?
none of the holidays.
Online.
Although I did buy him a quilted vest when we
Oh.
first moved here,
Mhm.
and he looks so handsome and dashing in it, but he hates
Oh.
it, and he tries to walk. He walks weird until he gets used to it, and so it's really more for my amusement.
My dogs won't go outside when it's raining, so I bought them raincoats. And I
Yeah.
did it mostly to Ruby because Ruby's the worst about rain. And I put the raincoat on her, and then I stuck her outside, and she would not move. She just stood there and just like, "What is this?" And no, she was not about it.
Ruby doesn't. She doesn't care to participate in any of that.
No, she doesn't care.
Okay. 1/4 of all of the candy sold annually in the US is purchased for Halloween.
I've heard that one before. I've heard of that fact before.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
1/4. Okay, so the number one most hated candy of 2021 this
Oh,
year. I was
okay.
actually surprised that this is what they, according to candystore.com,
Mm-hmm.
drum roll is, what do you think it is? Number one most
Halloween
hated
candy.
candy.
Those peanuts. Those
Uh,
marshmallow peanut things.
no,
No.
it's candy corn. And I
Oh.
personally despise candy corn. Now, despite being one of the most hated candies since its invention in
Hmm.
1898, today nearly 35 million pounds is produced each year. Who eats this stuff?
I
It's
like
so
candy
gross.
corn. I like it
Oh,
with nuts. Like a trail mix. I don't really care for it by itself. When you put it like a trail mix, it I don't know,
you
it
mix
adds a
it to
good
cut the sugar.
texture.
All
With
right,
some
no,
peanuts.
I'm giving you, that's you. Now, what is the worst Halloween candy picks? Okay, the one that you said is the
Circus
first one.
peanuts. Circus peanuts.
Yes,
Okay.
circus peanut. I mean, they're
It's
what even
disgusting.
are they? Ugh, they're insulation. Jam them around your freaking air conditioner in the summer, and they work good. Others are those wax Coke bottles.
Oh,
Okay,
that's gross. I don't get
they
that.
are gross. They like burned your throat when they burned. There
How
was
is that
something about it.
candy?
Well, it's liquid group A carcinogens is what it is. Necco wafers,
Oh
okay, I'm not
yeah.
gonna say the worst, but they're the second
Yeah,
worst
they're up
candy.
there. Hmm.
Tootsie Rolls. Now I like Tootsie
Yeah, I
Rolls.
don't mind Tootsie Rolls. Especially they
Yeah, I
have like
like
other
them.
flavor ones too. I like them.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like
Those cherry Tootsie Rolls are the
yeah,
best.
it's like
Hmm.
a saltwater taffy. It's not
Yeah.
like I don't
Hmm.
know. Oh, I like it.
And they're I like Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah.
We like Tootsie Rolls. We say yay Tootsies. Um and then the worst is my most hated is black licorice, which just
Oh
tastes like
yeah.
ass.
That's just
It's just tastes like ass.
I don't even know
So
who made that.
I, it's probably goes back in, back to the
It's
1800s
probably
where
a
they had no
medicine and
taste
somebody made it
anyway.
into a candy because that's what it tastes
Yep.
like. It tastes like medicine.
It does. It doesn't taste good at all. I know that there are people that like it, but it has to be. It's got to be something like people that there are people. I love cilantro, and some people hate it.
Oh,
So
it's that same people with those genes. Yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
maybe that's
Hmm.
something. I don't know. Now I like red licorice. I don't. It's not my favorite, but I will eat it.
Hmm.
But it's not my first, second, third, fourth, or fifth choice.
What I
You know what I
noticed
mean?
about this list is that there's no chocolate on it because
There's no chocolate,
because
right? Well,
chocolate's lovely.
this is the most hated candy, but
Yeah.
we're gonna get into the most loved candy.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So circus peanuts, wax, Coke, battles, Necco, wafers, Tootsie Rolls, and black licorice. Sock, as
Hmm.
well as candy corn, but that's not, we won't say
It's
they
not
suck.
even on
All
the
right.
list.
Now, the most loved,
Yes.
right? I'm not
Okay.
trying to shame you. The most loved Halloween candy is, what do you think it is?
Oh, I mean, obviously a chocolate. It has to be a chocolate. I don't know.
Yep.
Kit Kat bars.
Oh, well, no. Those are on the list. The most loved Halloween candy is Reese's peanut butter
Oh yes, of
cups.
course. That's like one of my
Hmm.
favorites. Yeah.
Yes, I agree, especially the white chocolate peanut
Oh.
butter cups. I'm like, when those first came out, I'm not kidding you. I bought like an entire box of them from like Costco
Mm-hmm.
and ate and got so sick. I got so sick because I think I ate like 6 in one day. And I'm like, you need to stop. I did get sick, but okay. Now, other best Halloween candy picks. What do you think those are?
Okay. So we covered recess. What else is in there? There's Kit Kat bars and probably just regular Hershey's chocolate, M&Ms. I don't know. Twix?
No, none of those. Yep, you
No?
got Twix.
Okay.
Yep. So Snickers,
Okay. Snickers. Yes.
Twix, Nerds, which I don't get. Nerds are like terrible little hard candies that'll crack a crown. What? I hate those. They're gross. But whatever. Again, I'm not gonna jam slam on people's. Sour Patch Kids, which I do
Oh
love.
yeah, those are
I
good.
mean, they're obnoxious and
Hmm.
unnecessarily uncomfortable to eat, but they're so good. And then Skittles. I don't love Skittles, but they're not bad. So Snickers, Twix, Nerds, Sour Patch Kids, and Skittles.
Oh, very good. I love Reese's. So because my when I was little, my favorite movie was E.T. And you know how they have
Yes.
Reese's Pieces and that
Reese's
thing. Did
Pieces.
you know
Yes.
that they originally had asked M&Ms, like that was supposed to be M, but they didn't approve. Like they didn't give
They were
the
like, nope.
no, and they used Reese's Pieces instead. And I'm
Yep.
like, and I used to
Mm-hmm.
love Reese's, like that
Yep.
advertising. That that
Mm-hmm.
marketing ploy totally worked on me
It
as like a
totally worked.
4-year-old. That was my
Yep.
favorite candy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Suck it, M&Ms. In the movie theater,
Hmm.
now that the movie theater's back up, every time I go to a movie, I always get the same treat. I'll get a bucket of popcorn. Okay, half filled, so that I can then put butter and then the cheese, the white
The white
cheddar
cheese.
on it, and
Uh-huh.
then you dump in a half a box of Reese's Pieces,
Oh.
and that is the best thing because at the bottom, once you get toward the bottom, the Reese's Pieces are all covered in the cheese, and it sounds gross, like
It
ew, but
does.
oh my god, it is the best. Anybody, the next time you go to the movie, if you try that, please let us know
I
because
would
that is
add
so
some
good.
peanuts to that.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Um, which city, see if you can guess, if you've heard this, which city banned anyone over 14 from trick or treating?
I don't know.
I mean,
City?
right, a city. Who would do that? In 2019, so it was recent,
Mm-hmm.
Chesapeake, Virginia. Chesapeake, Virginia, maybe like the Chesapeake Bay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, which that's a cool bridge. I've been over it and under it. It became one of the latest cities to ban trick or treaters. So there are others out there that over a certain age. Anyone over 14 who goes door to door is subject to a class 4 misdemeanor and could be fined up to $250.
What?
Boo, Chesapeake,
Wow.
boo.
Wow.
Yeah. They did mention that this law has been in effect for many years, like 100 years or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
because um there were vandals, and so they're like, that's it, no kids over it was originally over the age of 12.
Hmm.
They upped it to 14, but they did mention that Chesapeake has never enforced that law,
Okay.
which is good, but still, take it off the books.
Yeah.
Don't be dicks. All right, and then the last fun Halloween fact is the top producing pumpkin states in the US.
Oh.
They are Illinois, California, Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, and my home state of Michigan.
Oh, fun.
Yay! Yep. So everybody's
Okay.
represented. Everybody on this podcast, anyway.
Yeah.
And collectively, these states produced 1.31 billion pounds of pumpkins.
Wow.
I know that's a lot. That's a lot. The fact that people, and I'm sure that many of those are probably for things like pumpkin pies,
Sure.
and, pumpkin pie filling and, additives and stuff like that. But that's a lot of pumpkins.
It is. All right.
All right. And then the last thing that I want to talk about today is Halloween safety. Halloween night is one of the more deadly nights due to DUIs and pedestrian accidents. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 43% of all Halloween fatalities between 2011 and 2013 involved a drunk driver. So when you take your kids out this year, please be cognizant and keep them safe and do all the things to keep the little guys and ladies safe, because, you want them to get home safely so that you can then go through their candy.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're going to go out and drink and do that stuff, get a fucking Uber. Like, you don't have an excuse. Uber, Lyft, don't be a dick.
No, thank you. And I don't mean to put the responsibility on the shoulders of the parents. It should be, don't be a dick and drink and drive and, do all that shit. Won't take away some kid's holiday.
Yeah.
Because you can't say no.
Exactly. Or you can't fucking get an Uber. God damn it.
Right. Get an Uber. Fuckers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have.
Awesome.
On the modernization of Halloween.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's a fun holiday. So
it's my favorite time of year.
Yay!
Yay! All right, guys. Well, you can find us on all the socials under Esoterics Podcast, and be sure to join our Facebook community, the Esoterics Group, and hear firsthand about our services, events, and courses, as well as get intuitive development tips, card pulls, free meditations, and a lot more.
Thank you so much for sharing space with us today. It was a fun conversation. Stay mystical, magical, and ready to do it again. Next week, we are going to talk about my favorite topic in the entire world, life between life. We're going to talk about the process, how we choose our next life, what happens when we pass over, what we go through, and then what it's like to re-enter back into human form. So
awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a safe and fun Halloween.
Yay. Bye-bye.